And I'm live too.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 15th episode
Bapapasapa.
of the Untamed Forge. We're doing it live. I am the Untamed Scribe, and with me, as always, is the Wandering Alchemist.
Hi there.
In this episode, we're going to be going to continue our organization of our past forges, but we're going to be doing that by adding some ideas and or content for each listing. Also, towards the end of the episode, we're hoping we can divide up some of the work. And by next forge, after this one, we're hoping to come together again with our ideas and how to best go forward with our book from here. So welcome all.
Welcome. Okay, so I actually had an idea about how we can go about doing this.
Okay, hit me. Idea.
And I apologize to people watching this who hate it when I do it, but like, I'm going to scroll up and down while I'm talking and not looking at anything because I have bad habits.
Oh, you're great.
I just kind of like, and when I like lose a train of thought, I like really do it to like try to, I don't know. Anyways.
Cool.
So we're trying to get into a position where we're assigning writing assignments to ourselves to get done, right?
Yes.
So instead of going through all of these again and like being like, we need this little piece for that and that little piece for this and this little piece for that, and spending enough like time we actually don't have today doing that because we don't need to, why don't we do both at the same time and decide where we should start writing and pick some assignments and then figure out the goals of those specific assignments.
Okay.
That way we're not spending too much time on all of them. We're spending the time on the specific ones that we will be getting to people. And as a note, we didn't really specify whether we were doing this. Our intent was kind of to have most of this stuff written already, and then collect it and add some stuff. But things changed over the latter half of last year. So this year we have collected it, and we're doing it slower than we anticipated. So I think we should set ourselves a realistic goal. And that maybe we could get done faster, but maybe not. I think maybe we try to have this published, like this collected volume of...
Is this the realistic goal you're trying to...
Yes.
Like, okay, try
of I don't know, with all this stuff, somewhere between 50 and 80 pages.
Okay, wait. So you're not... you're not giving me a date. Okay, I'm sorry.
I am. Okay. I am.
Okay, so
this whole thing...
80...
yeah. Okay. This whole thing of 50 to 80 pages.
I just keep, like, typing and then...
I know. I mean, you type too fast, but you can't... You're not there with the court where you just, like, type literally every word that comes out of my mouth as it comes out of my mouth yet. Which is good, because we'd be in, like, page 70.
Yeah, and we'd also have, like, a...
Yeah, it'd be so horrible. But what I figure is we can set our goal for the end of this year. Okay. And that way, like...
By the end of the year.
Yeah, so we can create and update our timeline as we go. But also, every month, whatever we have as we're building this project, we give to the patrons. Like, our patrons can see every step by month intervals. Like, they get to watch this, but like, and we'll talk about it during these shows, but like the actual documents we'll convert to a PDF and let our patrons look at and be like, hey, what do you guys think? What needs more? Like, because that was the whole point anyway. So let's keep, especially if we're going to extend how long this is going to take us, let's keep the patrons involved and give them eyes on this project instead of just like writing and be like, oh yeah, we wrote this thing, and they're like, what did you?
And you said I'm on the same page if you really are open to it, but ask for their feedback.
Yeah. So like, here's what we did this month. What do you guys think? Here's what we did this month. What do you guys think? Like, here's our document in progress. What do you think? That kind of thing. Like, what should we try to get art for? Or like, whatever.
Yeah. But does this make sense? Does it read correctly?
Yes. Does it seem balanced? So we can do that. And then that also gives us the starting point of January to just start the whole creative show thing over again, where we're like, okay, we're doing an item, give us some words, and we just, we get it out of our brain and kind of tweak the format of how this thing goes.
Right.
But that being said, that means we have to start deciding where we want to start this volume 1 in terms of writing.
Okay, so where do...
Now, I'm going to go through our list up above.
Okay, cool. Because I was going to say, I'll just stay... I was just about to say, I'll wait down here.
I'm going to start... I'm just going to highlight what already has some writing done from the first half of last year when we started this. I'll just use a nice orange.
Orange is not already done, right?
I'm like doing a straight up highlighter, so.
Okay, cool.
Let's see. Don't have a Tarek's Hive map. We don't have that. Don't really have that, or that, or that, or that.
Or this or that, or this or that.
Yeah, we do have this one. And we have this one.
See, like, I'm not where you are either, so, like, it's funny to me because, like, I'm not looking at what you're looking right now. So it's like, we got this, we don't got that.
We gotta get you hooked up with a second screen.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Pat almost did that for me for Christmas, I think.
Because then I could also screen share what I'm doing, so you can watch it in real time instead of the delayed, the delay of the stream.
That'd be dope.
In terms of beast stats, we do have the hive. That's a thing we have. I think that's the only one. No, kaiju. We have some kaiju. Great. So if you want to scroll up real quick, there's not a lot highlighted, if we're honest.
I'm gonna scroll up, so don't go talking about stuff I gotta write yet. Okay. All right. The glitter. So these items are what? What you want?
These are all things that already have some writing done.
Okay.
Because we were still in a safe position to create PDFs. Or at least I was in a safe position to create a PDF of them. Okay,
hold on. I'm just going to do this. You're straight up highlighting, you said?
Yep, just orange.
Orange, okay. I'm just making that note on here, down below.
Perfect.
Okay, so then...
So let's... Where do we want to start? Where would you like to start writing? What do you want to write about?
Oh, that's a tricky question. I have no idea, dude. I kind of like... I've never really made any stat blocks. I feel like I can do more flavor type stuff, you know?
Sure.
That's kind of where I live.
I don't mind doing stat blocks. I am fully comfortable doing stat blocks. And like if we want to co-op beasts where like you do like most of the writing for bestiary flavor and I do all the stat blocks, that's fine. Although I'll probably steal like the weird stuff from you.
Okay.
Or at least add stuff to the flavoring part of those.
Whatever works.
But we also don't have to start at the bestiary. We can start with, like, if you want to start, like, fully narrative stuff, you can start somewhere in lore.
Yeah.
Like, chapter 1 and 2 is, like, 99% narrative. Chapter 3 is still, like, a good 75% narrative.
Mm-hmm.
Chapter 4 and 5... chapter 4 is, like, mostly text. Or stat text, rather.
Yeah.
And then the bestiary is pretty much 50-50.
Mm-hmm.
So, where do we want to start?
Oh. Okay, here. Maybe it'd be better not to start with things we already have, like, some written on, or maybe it would. What do you think about that? Because, like, if we wanted to...
I don't think it would. I think if we start with something that we don't have anything written on, we can create a momentum from which we can pull in that old stuff to work properly. But if we start with something we already have written, then we have a very specific thing that we're pushing off of, and that might not aid in momentum. Mm-hmm. It might be good for our momentum, but it also might make starting a pain.
I kind of feel like we should start with bestiary in some way, because then, like we just said, it's a 50-50. We can collaborate on it a little more and get a sense of what we kind of both want out of it.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
So, like, maybe even just start with Moonbear, or, like, pick one. You know what I mean? That we already have.
So if we have, I mean, if we effectively have 9 months.
Right.
So there's a lot of items. So if we're let's start with beasts. Let's pick, like, well, depending on which ones we pick, because, like, if we pick Milk and Honey Curios, that's a more substantial
document
portion of the book than say Giant Fey Rabbits. Like, Giant Fey Rabbits is probably just going to be a stat block. Mm-hmm. Like, they'll be mentioned in Moon Bears, but, like, just, like, you know, there's not really anything for lore in the end of the monster manual where it's all beasts. Like, only the couple weird ones, like Winter Wolf and Death Dog, have any lore at all. So, so it depends which one we pick. So if we pick easier ones, maybe we pick 3 or 4. If we pick a really complicated one, maybe that's the only one we do.
Right. I mean, I honestly, like, it's really whatever we think is best together, because I can go either way on it. You know what I mean? Like, we can start with something more complicated to get the more complicated stuff out of the way, or we can start with the simpler stuff to then be able to really tackle the harder stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, it could work either way.
Okay. So let's...
That is not what that's supposed to say. I just realized it should say
form. Form of.
Form monk order.
So why don't we start, like, somewhere in between and go down here somewhere?
Yeah.
With that crazy extra planar place, because that's a little wacky. So we have a little more freedom, but it's also very D&D-ish.
Yep.
It's not as wacky as, say, the Alchemical Island.
True.
But they also, everything has some, like, lore stuff to talk about, but also they're pretty simple creatures. Like dire indigo flamingos they're flamingos. They're psychic flamingos, but they're flamingos. So, like, but they're not as hard as, say, like, Queen Moira Coppermead the Sixth. Yeah. So why don't we start with some of these guys down here?
Okay.
You want to pick, like, say 3 of them?
Okay, sure. Let's do, I think, right where you're at, like, dire pandas, dire indigo flamingos, and then we'll just do magical earth elemental.
Okay.
Boom, that little... All right, hold on, because I'm gonna bring those down for our little notes here.
Yes, because we should... should jot down. I want to say the phrase talking points, but that's not really what they are.
Yeah.
But talking points for each of these that we should focus on.
Okay. So dire pandas, dire indigo flamingos, and magical earth elementals. Boom. Starting point.
Great. All right. So
Okay.
dire pandas.
Yep. I'm just going to go underneath each one if you're cool with that.
Sure.
Okay.
So dire pandas, those are probably the simplest out of all of these. I don't think we talked about any magical, like super magical stuff about them.
I don't think so.
So they're big bears.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be a pretty simple bear stat block. Do we want them to make them a little weird because of where they live?
Where were they living again?
That strange demi-plane where with the nomadic planar traveler the nomadic planar traveler graveyard is on this place, so like yeah,
I think giving him a little something would be cool, because like otherwise it's just the normal bear stat block. Like what's the I'm all about pushing it a little.
So what are we thinking? We don't need super details, but like, what are we thinking? Like responsive, or like super aggressive, or like are they fucking porcupine bears? Like, what do we got going on?
I think we got.
Like as an animal. Is it reactive?
Yeah, I kind of like it because just with the nature of that place and the other like ghosts or whatever, I can't even remember what we called them, but
the mastodon ghosts that we also have there.
Yeah, just with that stuff, I feel like it'd be good to do territorial, like really emphasize the territorial.
Okay.
Like protective, almost.
Okay.
Again, I don't know how. You said we don't have to be so specific, but I don't know how if you want to elaborate on that right now. Territorial.
So I mean, could probably have them be territorial of like a specific stand of bamboo.
Yeah. Or even, oh gosh.
Because we could even make this like a really low-level legendary creature.
Do we really,
like just in that, or not even legendary, but like give them lair actions, like if they're in their little stand of bamboo, there's like certain things that happen.
Do we want to do that? Because like a part of me feels like half of the stuff that we create is like so powerful, and like I just want to.
Well, I'm not thinking like murder. I'm thinking, but like if you come into this bear's home, like maybe the vines in the area are going to impede your movement. Like,
okay.
Like I'm not thinking like it's a level 15 creature. I'm thinking like it's like a level 3 giant ass fucking bear because it's a dire bear.
Right.
And if it's super territorial and you go into its little stand of trees, which is maybe only like 50 feet in diameter, like you don't want to fight the bear there. So there's some penalties to that, like there's grasping vines when the bear gets angry, something like that maybe.
Yeah.
If we want to give it a little oomph beyond the norm.
Yeah.
And we don't even have to make that like a lair action. Maybe we just make that one of its a special attack that it's capable of doing. That's crazy and weird.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, because otherwise bears are pretty basic. They have bite, they have claw. The end.
Yep. Yeah, I kind of like it as a special attack. I mean, we don't have to get into that now, but I kind of like it as a special attack.
Mm-hmm.
Just with like, I think it could play well into ghosts and all the other shit we already like, the weird shit we already have there.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, because I mean, the difference between special attack and lair action is really how you want it mechanically to work. Because, like, if it's on a lair action, it kind of just happens at the top of initiative within that area. If it's an attack, it's an action the bear actively takes and probably does a lot more in terms of, like, damage and effect, but it all depends.
I mean, if we're talking...
it all, like, and, like, it also depends on... Because, like, the lair action's a lot more passive... reactionary, like it passively happens over the battle. Like I'm just thinking like in terms of how it plays out in combat.
Yeah, I gotcha. I kind of
because like special attack, it's at one use, is it recharge? I mean, there's so many different ways that like that narrative effect can occur in combat. So, I mean, and I can come up with like a couple different iterations.
Right.
Be like, hey, what do you guys like?
What are you thinking, man? Okay.
Now these guys, the dire flamingos, we have pretty good ideas about.
Okay. Are you scrolling up?
No, this is from memory because I like these guys.
Okay.
So we already have that there are hot springs that are fed from waters that travel through this ancient graveyard, right? And that the hot springs, and this is where the magic earth elementals come from, like the earth itself is magical in some way. Like it's naturally magic. So there's these bodies of people who have traveled across the plains, sitting in this magical earth, and the water that moves through that earth and through their tombs and such feeds these hot springs, in which the tiny purple shrimp or whatever eat. And the same way that like a toxin bioaccumulates up the food chain, magical imprints of the memories from these nomads accumulates in the flamingos. So the same way they get their color from their food, they get memories from their food. And I believe we talked about them being weird and cryptic in that, like, they're not specifically intelligent. They have psychic powers that they can leverage as defense or attack or whatever.
Right.
But, like, if you do the right thing... and this is where your part comes in, because it's very narrative. Like, if you
do the right...
Like, well, if you feed this thing... like whatever, or if like you sit next to it, like eventually, whether you prompt it or you have to wait for it, it will accidentally send you a psychic vision of some kind of information. Maybe there's a way to get specific information that the nomads knew from a flamingo, or maybe it's completely random. I don't know. Like, we could even have, like, a table in there where it's like, oh, or maybe you have to get hit with the psychic attack. Like, and the goal is that, like, you do something to get a specific memory that comes with the psychic attack.
Right. I don't think... Oh, God, I can't spell today.
Psychic.
I can't. I just can't.
But maybe we include a table that has like random visions, like 1d12 random visions, so that like if your players aren't going there for this purpose, like, and don't know what they're getting into, like every time the they, if they're fighting these flamingos for whatever reason, the flamingo like squawks and suddenly your head hurts and you take, whatever psychic damage, and then you see like a marriage ceremony, like, and you're like,
gosh.
what?
Okay, all right. So we're talking. Okay, so yes on the psychic part, right? Like we're just.
Oh yeah.
Like yeah.
Yeah, but it's not like, you're like trained psychic where they're super smart animals. It's just like reactionary mental abilities.
Okay.
Like the same way like a snake has venom, but it's not sitting there in a lab making the venom specifically to poison someone,
I just can't spell. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm
It's
like
okay.
so.
It's physics.
My brain. Okay. So we're talking about maybe having a table.
Yeah, I'm definitely thinking about including a table.
Okay, with abilities, or what did you say it was?
With visions when you get hit with the ability.
Okay.
So, like your fighter runs up, he attacks this thing, it squawks, it brain blasts him, and then he sees someone's wedding from 4 millennia ago. And then your barbarian runs up and does the same thing, and he gets squawked at, but he sees, like, I don't know, a birthday party. Just, like, just random prompts, so that when this encounter happens at the table, everyone's like, what is going on? Is this important?
Right. Question everything.
But also, like, makes it very clear that, like, hey, here's a good way you could also put in a hook to get the plot back on track. You could feed a memory that includes an item they're looking for or a person.
Yeah.
And that could even be like a sidebar on that page. Like, hey,
yeah,
like DM suggestion. Like, use this random funny feature to help drive the story amidst the chaos your players are creating.
Okay.
Could also sow false information too. Because memories are manipulated by those remembering them. So.
Ooh, excuse me. Did we talk about for them to? Did we talk about a stat block for them?
For the flamingos?
Yeah.
I mean, other than the fact that they're going to be big-ass purple flamingos with psychic attacks, not really. But I mean, that should be pretty easy.
Okay. What level are you thinking for them?
I mean, probably not super high, I feel, because, I mean, they're going to have to be like, I don't even know if 3 is right for the bear. I'll compare it with other beasts.
Yeah.
But it's going to have to be kicked up a little bit because of the psychic abilities.
Yeah.
So somewhere between 2 and 6. I'm probably going to try to keep it low because even though they're big, they're not birds of prey. And flamingos flock. So, like, if it's a nice low level, then it's an area high level characters are probably going to be going to. So it makes for a nice combo where you can have like 12 of these birds that are level 2 or 3 attacking a party of 5.
Yeah.
And then they have to try to get the vision that they want out of like 4 dozen or whatever. Be hilarious.
Yeah. Okay. So we're talking about. I feel like for this, just with how excited you were about it, I should put in something about like oh gosh, how do I want to word this? So I'll just say background info. Explain how the waters then affect the food, which like just to give the
sure
DM more, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Flamingos eat
Yeah, we'll have to talk about how we're writing these things anyways, because we'll obviously want to emulate the rule books in basic structure and design, deviating as necessary. But because we want people to, obviously, if people get this, we want to be them to see things where they expect things to be.
Right.
So yeah. But yeah, I feel like that would be like, you know how the monsters have like, at least in 5th edition, it's nice. Their descriptive text is broken down into like subsections with headers that concern themselves with a specific aspect of that creature.
Yeah.
I feel like that could be one of those little subsets, and it could be like a little 4 or 5 sentence paragraph that describes where that power comes from, and then you could have another one, you know.
Yeah.
And some of these will have more of those subtext sets than others. Like, Dire Pandas are only probably going to have one.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't know. The Milk and Honey Curios is going to be, like, its own, like, 4 or 5 page section.
Yeah.
Once you get done with stat blocks and everything, so.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. Do we want to move on to elementals, or is there more you wanted to do for flamingos?
No, I think flamingos is good where it is in terms of...
I'm not typing that.
preparatory work.
Okay.
P.
You're, what's his name? Jim Carrey and Liar Liar.
Yeah, basically. Just go stick my head in a toilet seat, smash myself.
I mean, I don't recommend at all.
No?
No.
Sure.
You do what you feel.
All right.
Okay. So
the magic earth elementals.
And I apologize for those listening, because you might hear my cat, because he's just starved for attention.
That's fine. When I'm playing video games on stream, Kiwi never gets more annoying than then. Like, oh, I gotta go out. I want to come back in. I'm gonna meow at you until you pet me. It's awful.
What you doing? How's it going? Hey,
Yeah.
hey. You know what? I don't need you. Actually, I lied. I need you. Come back.
So I think the magical earth elementals...
I need my hand to write, buddy.
I think we can do something pretty basic but pretty fun with these. I think pretty much they're going to be...
Are they going to be the normal stat block? Elemental stuff?
So, you know how there's the elementals in the monster manual?
Mm-hmm.
And that's just like your standard elemental?
Yeah.
And do you have Mordekainen's? Tomophos?
I do not.
Okay, so there's a section in there where it has, I think they just call them greater elementals. Do you remember the Archons from 4th edition, the elementals with like the armor, like the gauntlets and the helmet and the they use that art or similar art for the greater elementals, and they're basically higher level elementals. I think we can go ahead and use the earth elemental and the greater earth elemental as our like guideline for these.
Okay. And greater earth elemental, you said?
Yeah. Because I mean they're earth elementals, it's a magical earth.
Yeah.
So we can use that as a guideline, and then we can add some magic to them. The real question is because it's going to be up to the DM how they want to, like, why, like, is someone digging up a tomb? Does this just happen to be a magically active place, part of this plane, or whatever? The DM will have to decide why elementals are there. There's usually some reason.
Yeah.
Or not, like, but the thing we have to figure out is what is magical about the earth. And something we definitely have to keep in mind as we decide that in order to determine the Earth Elemental's abilities is that we've already decided that if you bury a body in this Earth, eventually the rainwater will draw, or maybe the Earth itself pulls the memories from creatures. Or I don't know, like maybe it's a very psychic thing. You know?
So, do I have that right? We need to decide how the Earth is magical?
Yeah, so that we can decide what makes these Earth Elementals special. And I think we should probably lean on, like, the psychic aspect, since the flamingo thing, right? So, like,
Right.
maybe there's a psychic power to this Earth that draws out memories of bodies, and then, you know, it rains and it trickles down into the ecosystem. But, like, the pure Earth, what might that happen if it's animated, you know?
Right.
Do they have psychic attacks? Like, that just deal psychic damage? Do they they read your mind, perhaps? Maybe they can detect what you're about to do before you do it, so they're more defensive?
Maybe, you know, with the whole... Just with that whole area and, like, psychic and all of that, like, kind of going back into the flamingo thing a little bit, but, like, maybe because the flamingos, you know, they're cryptic, right? We're talking about the psychic ability, and that's, like, you have to get hit with an attack or whatever.
Right.
Ability.
Like, that shit's accidental.
Yeah. Like, maybe that's one of the reasons why, like, I feel like this area itself is, like, self-protective.
Okay.
So, like, maybe leaning towards the psychic aspect for the Earth Elementals.
Ooh.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Maybe the Elementals are smarter.
Yeah, and they might not necessarily, like, give you, hold on.
They're they're, like, much more guardian elementals, like, of the plane itself, rather than just, like, the normal elemental, which is, like, just the inherent power of the element.
Right, and on top of that, like, we're talking about this place that, you know, our DM is going to, you know, throw the adventurers in there for one reason or another. Maybe, you know, a part of the DM's campaign, if they decide to do a homebrew, or we can give potential, like, a different stat block or whatever for that down the road and for that area. But, like, you know, oh, you need to find this magical ring because, you know, it's the only way that can stop this catastrophe. It's in this area. Like, the reason why this ring hasn't been taken before is because, like, these psychic abilities for these elementals that are guardians of this plane, like, they know potentially who's there, like, who's worthy. Do you get what I'm saying?
Right, maybe they have an ancient relationship with the people who used to bury their dead here.
Right. Yes.
No, the question is, do you think the Earth Elementals have forgotten that? Like, what that was exactly, but they still know it exists? Like, it was that long ago, like... But so they still protect it, but, like, they don't know much about those people or anything?
Yeah, like, they don't, however long it's been, like, they know that they're there as guardians, but they don't know...
Like, they agreed to guard this place, and they know the place is special. Maybe they know what the earth, like, what the stone and stuff can do, but maybe they've forgotten, like, why those nomads even came here in the first place, or what they did.
No, not why. Know that the...
Because that kind of gives you, like, two tactics if you're, like, social interacting with these guys. Because maybe you can appeal to the fact that you're going to use the magic for a good thing in relationship to what the earth elemental thinks is a good thing. Or you could take the tack where like, oh, no, I'm aligned with what these nomads used to be about. So you can trust me because of that. Because the earth elemental doesn't know if its current wants and ideals align.
Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like, again, you know, more flavor for the actual place itself later, but like it could be something where we're, you know, oh, like there could be tons of shit hidden on this place, you know. It's psychic for a reason, you know what I mean? Like, and you know, this group of adventurers, DM's choice, but group of adventurers just came here looking for this one thing. Who knows what they've, you know, come upon before these earth elementals, but maybe it could be a social interaction, but maybe it's not. Maybe, you know, if you've got a party member or whatever at that, like, I don't know what level we put these guys at. Maybe we should talk about that too. But, you know, they come across, like, maybe the earth elemental notices that somebody in the party, like, I hate to say this, but like maybe you do have a drow in the party. Like,
hey, that's racist.
You know,
is this a racist elemental?
No, I'm just saying, like, or maybe one of the characters like is struggling, like, you know, that whole idea of like, oh, are you neutral chaotic, or are you more like a neutral going towards like chaotic evil? Like, that's a huge jump. Like, maybe a character would go through that, you know what I'm saying? Like, they kind of see, or even it could be because of that psychic ability.
Oh, we could give them, all right, I know how we can, I know how we can treat that. We give them a proficiency mechanically in insight, which is not something an elemental would normally have. We give them insight proficiency so that they have high insight rolls, so that it's like, it's harder to lie to them, it's harder to deceive them, like they know if your intentions are what you say they are, that kind of thing. So they can't really like detect what alignment you are the way like a paladin could, but like
you knew where I was trying to get. Harder to lie to them, and
maybe we even give them like a I'm sure there's like a low level spell that like helps you determine intent, like not something so far as like read thoughts, but like, you know, you can tell certain things.
Yeah,
we'll have to look to see what's there.
So what level are you thinking for these guys?
I'm pretty sure your base elemental is 5. So for the regular one, probably 6 or 7, depending on what we do with it. I mean, and it'll really depend on like what kind of, how I manipulate the abilities, because like, depending on what we do, like if it's a lot of like social stuff that we're adding to this creature, it might just stay the same CR, really, because CR is really based on combat more than anything. So it'll depend, you know. Or if we want to kick it up to 6 or 7, then I can throw like a psychic scream on it. Like, it's not it's not too hard to figure out. But did you throw your computer? You good?
No, my cat tried to kill everything.
I heard this was called a mouse. Should I attack it?
Oh my god. Like, and he loves to hit the keys on a friggin' keyboard. Okay. No, sir. No. I'm not playing with you. See, same based on no. Social. Okay. Alrighty. So, ow. Yep, you're biting now. Goodbye. Oh, gosh. Yeah, he even scrolled me up, that little monster. Okay. I'm back now.
Hello.
Hello. Okay. All right. Yeah. What else do we want to add to this? Anything?
No, I think that sounds pretty good. I think that's pretty cool.
All right. Sweet. Obviously, this is just the general brainstorming session. So if we actually come back to you all with something a little bit more
completely
in-depth
different
or not, don't skewer us. It's just how this kind of goes.
No, you have to be a patron to skewer us.
Yeah.
You have to pay for the privilege to skewer us. That's not true. We're in the public domain.
Please don't.
Just please don't skewer us for no reason. Don't be a jerk.
All right. Constructive criticism, people. That's what we need.
Yes. Something like that.
Okay, so I feel like this is a pretty good place to start. Yeah, or are we looking at
so no, I think so your assignment is to write narrative stuff for all these. Mm-hmm. My assignment is to make stat blocks for all this.
Here, hold on, so Crowley stat blocks for all.
Taka.
Dude, if
we need to get you a non-mechanical keyboard.
That'd be great.
Like a nice, quiet keyboard. We need to buy one that has high ratings specifically because it's quiet.
Cool. That'd be great. And another monitor and all these things.
Yeah. All these things. Although I need a non-mechanical keyboard for streaming too, because mine can be... It's not as loud as yours, but...
Thanks. I think that's just me.
It's a little of both.
All right, so you're going to do stat... I'm just doing narrative for all? There's nothing else that I need to... Okay, and you're going to take care of stat blocks for all, and that kind of covers everything, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. And then next month, we will come back. We can talk about how these turned out. Patrons will get... We'll be able to see what we actually did, like the full detail of it. But we'll briefly talk about what we actually did. And then we'll come up with new assignments. And chances, hopefully, I'm hoping that these three it shouldn't be too hard. Like, we're not writing final products, we're writing, like, drafts.
Yeah.
So we don't, and they're not super long. So hopefully this is, like, a nice, easy assignment, because just looking at the big list of stuff we have and counting the number of months, we're going to have to give ourselves bigger assignments as we move forward.
Yeah, this is kind of just like I said, we could have done it
walk before we run.
Yeah, so we're just kind of easing into it just to get a feel for it, just to see how it plays out for each of us and how
develop the process.
Next month, get new assignments.
Yes.
Ooh. Go. All right. Cool. So before is there anything else you want to say about next time before I?
Nope. I think this is a good transition point for us from collecting everything we've done into developing it.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to you right now because there are a few updates that we wanted to mention to you guys. So,
yes.
Crowley.
So, let me just check real quick. Okay, I am only speaking to future people, according to my number counter thing. So, future people, this will be out next week. So, it is the 21st that you are potentially seeing this. As of right now, the Lovecraftian spell supplement has been updated. There are over 50 terrible spells for you to give cultists or to you place in the hands of your party. How much chaos do you want? Because it's great. Because some of them are powerful but come at a cost.
Oh, I like what you did there.
So, like, there's a sleep spell that lets you choose certain allies, and if they're willing, or if they fail a wisdom save, you can deal them damage to make your sleep more powerful and affect more creatures. So there's that. So that's over 50 spells. Now, it is also now $2.95 instead of $1.95 because it is like 2.5 times as long as it was when it came out.
$2.95 though, right?
Yes. No, yeah. $295.
$3, not even $3 to get that. I'd do it. Just saying.
Just saying.
I'm biased.
Hashtag shameless plug.
Yeah.
What else? The Plague Doctor was updated with a few tweaks as well, mostly clarification things and some adjustments. There's other adjustments that I'm thinking about, but really I'm looking to playtest it more. I haven't got a lot of playtest feedback. I've gotten some feedback, which is why some of the changes were made, but we'll see about that one. The Quantum Sorcerer preview of the Magic of Physics supplement that I am working on for the future is done. It includes the Quantum Sorcerer subclass, which features a sorcerer which is in touch with other realities and existing on quantum levels. So there's a lot of randomness involved in using those. Not so much in using the powers, but in side effects that could happen. So the Chaos Sorcerer has random things that can happen. The Quantum Sorcerer has random things that can change about them. Their height could change. Their hair color could change. Their haircut could change. They could randomly have a new item in their backpack as they manipulate how reality is measured. There's a bunch of tables. There's a bunch of tables for that to give you a nice framework from which to make those random events should they happen, and they're not guaranteed to happen. There is also 2 physics-y spells in there, including a spell that essentially... shoot, now I have to remember which 2 I put in there.
It's okay. They're gonna...
I don't remember. But
it's coming, guys.
It's coming. It's a preview to a bigger product. So this is going to be pay what you want. All my patrons will get access to it. And you can technically get it for free when it comes out. So it's a full subclass and 2 new spells for free if you want. As a preview for what I'm working on. What else? Oh. Articles are moving along smoothly. I am introducing homebrew articles as well. On the website will be homebrew primers as I kind of define this homebrew finally. And patrons will be getting stats. And most of the stats for the next few months will be racial stats. So like every other week between the primers, patrons will get new races to try out, including different colored dragonborn that exist in the world. Egyptian-themed gnolls, new types of plane-touched creatures, that kind of thing. So,
cool stuff.
Yeah, so stay tuned for all that stuff. There are a few other publishing projects that I want to get on my timeline, but those will come as they come, because class for me starts in 2 months, and my focus is to keep the stuff I just talked about coming throughout class. So all the articles are all set. I want to get all the homebrew stuff all set, and then if I have to, I'll wait on the actual published material until June after my 2 classes, but we'll see how it goes. We'll talk about that next month as I have a better idea.
Excellent. Thank you for your updates, sir. So that's going to wrap up this episode of the Untamed Forge.
Yes. Please let us know what you think. Let us know what you think about how we're doing and what we're making. if you want to have input on this stuff, if you want to see it written out and statted out and shoot us some input, become a patron on Patreon. You can have that input for only $1. Just $1 a month, and you can have that kind of input and help us make this as opposed to just watching us make it.
Yeah, I mean, just
we still want your comments and stuff, but you will have easier time saying, "Hey, I don't like this power," or maybe it should be an area attack if you can see the stats.
Yeah, I know a few people who even, and trust me, $1 is so helpful for us even, but even that, they're like, oh, these are the ideas I'm giving you. Good luck.
Yes. Also, for $1 a month, you get access to the Lovecraftian spells, and you'll get the Quantum Sorcerer, as a download for you. That's free anyways, but you'll get it. And if you do $3 a month or more, you also get the Plague Doctor and other stuff that I do when I find the time. So
yeah,
think about it.
Thanks for listening.
Think about helping us out. It'd be super appreciated.
So we look forward to creating with you all again next time. Thanks again for listening. As always, I'm the Untamed Scribe.
I am the Wandering Alchemist.
Later, everybody.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.